Moogle girl, hello. Moogle girl, hello. What is what face? Is that when you said hello, is that looks like a rubber duck? Hang on, I'll show you something. That the emoticon that Google gave you looks a great deal like this rubber duck that I got. Hello, Daniela. I'm really glad this is working. Yeah, that a couple of weeks ago, I did a live stream very late at night, and it was a really cool and good thing to do on YouTube. Um, but last time I tried it, like I was having all sorts of trouble with the microphone and everything, and so I just wanted to make sure that this time it was working. And then I'm planning to do another one of these things tonight after I get back from hanging out with my mom's in town, and so we're going to have food, and then later on I'll do this. Hello, I don't know quite how you'd pronounce it, the one Gaia, but hello. So I've got a little time before I have to go and pick up my mom. Is there anything that you guys would like to talk about? I was just showing Moogle Girl Gaia. I was just showing Moogle Girl this rubber duck that looks a lot like that emoticon. Wait a second. If I frame this thing right, then it looks like the rubber duck has my hair. So last time that I did this, it was very much a sort of thing of like that. Just ask me anything. You can talk about. We can talk about anything you like. Oh, while you're thinking of stuff that excuse me, that I have been going into Evil Eye Animation and just like working on this new thing. And we were talking recently about, or at least on like a couple of posts ago, we're talking about like whether I was going to show stuff before I was absolutely finished with it. And this one, I think I should be able to show it fairly soon because I think I'll be able to get it to a point where it's not really going to change all that much. It's going to be more or less the thing. And I think it might be kind of fun for you guys to see what something looks like when it's almost done, like right before I bring it to being absolutely done. Daniela, that's Danielle. I mean, I understand. It's that really like the idea though is it's never really to get like even though that like the people who are able to donate a lot, like obviously I'm very appreciative of that, but the idea is never really to get like a lot of people, I mean a few people to donate a lot. It's like a lot of people to donate a buck. That's always what works better. Yeah, Moogle Girl, yes, that I think it'll be cool too. Just as long as that I don't ever want to get it to a point where people see things in progress to the point of where I kind of fuck it up for them. That it would be kind of like a song, like if to show you a demo of a song that was like that was pretty much done, but you're going to put a few more refinements on it or something. But like if you played them, that a verse that had a different chorus or whatever, then it's never going to sound right when you give them the final thing. So going to show it as soon as I know that I'm not going to change it that much in the final version. But you guys actually might find this kind of interesting that um, that it's a piece that even though you only see Lev, you hear like he's talking to like an off-screen narrator. And first I tried to do it myself. Then I tried to think of anybody who might be able to do it well, anybody that I know. But I kind of went back to, I felt like I needed to do this, not just for the piece, but for me too. That I got my big brother to do it. My brother is not a voice actor, but when we were kids, we always used to like kind of make, we had a little tape recorder, and we would do little shows. We would do parodies of television commercials and everything, like on film, but also with our little tape recorder. And I almost felt like I needed to kind of get back to that sort of sensibility that you can only have with a sibling. And so I recorded him a couple of days ago, and I was putting it together, and it just it sort of woke something up. That's the only way I can think of describing it. Gaia, that I very, very much appreciate that. That's it's I'm glad you're pleased, and and I thank you very much for it. Pardon me for 1 second. I think this is probably my mom. My mom is in town from Boston, and we're going to be spending the day together. That actually wasn't my mom. That This is actually a story that just happened this week that some of you may find kind of interesting. Is that that I have to admit that, like, after that summit on Monday, um, I got pretty scared, and so that I'm not really proud of this, but these things happen. On Monday, which was my birthday, actually, having the worst possible day, found out about that summit, and I got really, really scared, and I got shit faced. I got absolutely shit faced. And I've got a friend who I talk to periodically, a guy who I once did a job for, considerably older than me. He was the science consultant for NPR for quite some time, so I really had a lot of respect for him. And I don't know what compelled me to, but like when I was in this really awful state of mind, and and not being all that coherent, um, I hadn't talked to him in a while, and I wanted to talk to somebody who had seen a lot of shit in his life. And so I called him, and I don't even remember the conversation very well. But the thing that's significant about this is that he called me the next day, and I woke up the next day and I was embarrassed. But he called me the next day, and he was he was checking in on me a little bit, but B, something that really meant a lot to me. He said that he was glad that I called him, and he was kind of touched that I would call him when I was in a state of some distress, and that I think it's the first time that anybody's really put it in quite that way. And I was just like thinking, okay, now that means that's a friend, somebody who would do that. Um, yeah, isn't that neat? He is a cool guy. Yeah. that and that I try not to do this very often, like to to drunk dial people like that, because that people have done that to me a few times, and I do my best to be cool about it. But there are sometimes that sort of thing, it can shift a little bit, and because I've had friends who have drunk dialed me, and have just started to maybe turn it into, like, whenever they call, I'm just like, okay, here we go again. Like, this guy is just gonna, like, upload everything on me, and it's gonna be a drag. And for the most part, it's a lot better if somebody's like, if you have a feeling that somebody is more or less able to take care of themselves, but you take care of them on those days when they're absolutely losing their shit. And that I do my best, at the very least, to kind of keep it like that, and to not completely lose my shit all that often. But I'm human; it happens. Why would you say that? Yeah, I heard I called him while shit faced. Why would you be concerned about that? It really could. It could go wrong in many, many ways. And there have been some people that, um, yeah, I don't know what it is. I think that they can kind of lose respect for you. I think if you show off, like, some sort of particularly upset or vulnerable side of yourself. Oh, by the way, I think I should mention that, as far as I know, I think there's a considerable delay in, when I say something and when you guys actually hear it. I think it might be as much as 20 seconds. Hey, Al. So, Al, this is just a test for doing a live stream later on tonight, and that I don't have that much more time because I have to go and pick up my mom. But we can chat for a little while until then. All right, it might be better, Moogle Girl. It might be a little bit better than I had originally thought. I'm laughing at the thing that Gaia said here. I had a friend a millennium ago who used to only drunk dial me to sing me improvised songs. So calling someone while shit faced isn't always a harbinger of doom. Daniela, did you want to talk about anything else before you split? Well, if she comes back with something that obviously we can talk about it, but I think she might have already left. Um, until anybody, until like the next question, there's a couple of things that I was just looking at in the last few days that I think that some of you guys might get a bit of a kick out of seeing. Um, okay. Any more book release plans in the future? Um, at the moment, no, because I think I have to accept that the game is completely different than it used to be. And you know, I would do a book if I'd do another book, another self-released book, if I was confident that that enough of it would be sold. But it's kind of an old business plan that, at least at the moment, it doesn't really work that well anymore, because I think I used to be able to, you know, sell out the runs that I myself would print, and it's getting a little bit more difficult because the shipping costs have gone up so much to get things shipped internationally that most people just don't want to spend the money. And so I'd do it if somebody asked me to do one, and if they were going to take care of all the distribution and all that stuff. But it's getting a little bit impractical for me to do it myself. Less serious question about the hair. And um, it just sort of happens this way. Um, something that that you guys might get a kick out of seeing. Right here, this is my comic box, one of my comic boxes, but here's that one from last week, the Corporate American Dream, the Declaration of Independence one. What's this one? The Purchase to Save Humanity. I did do some. I scanned the a very small drawing of the Star Wars figures here and whatever. And this is an occasion when I didn't draw every part of it. But so, yeah, here's one comic box. I've got another one up here. But this is one of those things that I sometimes look at. You know, if I feel like I'm not quite doing, I feel like that I'm standing in place, then I just sort of remember that I'm at least up to something. But this is, you might find more interesting. This is a old filing cabinet I've had for a few years. But in here is every episode, at least the ones that I still have. I've sold a few. This is all the episodes, the original drawings of Tales. And so you name it, I've probably got it. And for instance, I've got Procrastination, which is still probably the best known one that I've got. It's sitting right in here. And blah, 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 blah. Oh, dark in the middle of the day. Yeah. Well, let me show you. I've got these blinds here that keep it dark. But what's really funny, actually, is if you see my apartment building from the outside, because I keep those blinds drawn all the time. And since they're kind of a dark wood, so you see my apartment building, everybody else has white blinds. And I find it funny just because, that any random person, if you knew I lived here, you'd know immediately which apartment was mine. The one that has like this dark window and all that. Yeah, Brian, I'll open the blinds a little bit so you can see what it looks like. Wow, I feel like half Dracula, half Gremlin, going bright light. Do you ever dig out your old work and just look back over it for shits and giggles? Sometimes that sometimes I look back on it much more to think about and just try to remember whatever my state of mind might have been at any given time. It's more about that. I don't mean to sound like a creep, but I knew your file cabinet would look like that. Uh, yeah. It's the filing cabinet I think is probably from the 1950s, and even when it's empty, it weighs a ton. It's insane. Me and my brother bought that I think shortly after I moved to town, and I think I got that thing for like $20 at a there used to be a place in town that would sell office furniture, used office furniture, and accessories, and so I bought it there. It was a perfect bitch getting it back to my house. Fred, do I regret having sold those drawings? I have one and almost feel guilty. No, I don't. I don't regret selling them at all. I mean, because that's sometimes how you survive. But there are some pieces that I would not sell. I think under almost any circumstances. I mean, like that. I wouldn't sell the drawings to procrastination. I wouldn't sell the drawings to the video conversation. Um, that I don't think I would sell the drawings to the like button. Um, and at the moment, I think that I could probably, I mean, depending on what somebody offered for them, I could be talked into maybe selling the drawings for fling, but would uh, it would have to be for a decent amount, I think. I mean, I'm sure at the moment that I would have a price, but there are some pieces that I have a very particular connection to, and I would have a hard time selling them. But other ones are like that. It's not that the connection isn't strong; it's just one that kind of have no problem with letting them out there. Gaia, you did spot Dymo labeling, and that this is something that uh, I'll go on a little bit of a tangent here. Yes, I love outdated office supplies, and this is an old school Dymo label maker, and I use it all the time. Partially. Um, Partially because I really love the old Batman TV show. And I always got a big kick out of the various devices that they had in the old Batcave, because a lot of the signage on those things was just was so absurd and so dumb, and it always really made me laugh. Like they had this photo developing tank that said like bat developing tank superfine bat grain, and that always cracked me up. Uh, and so like I love labeling things around the house, and sometimes not. But for instance, like this is an old briefcase that I carry, and one of the interesting things about carrying an old school briefcase is that people have seen enough spy movies in their day that if they see a briefcase like this, everybody assumes that it's a bomb. Um, so I don't know if you'll be able to read this or not, but so that I labeled this inconspicuous black case. But yeah, so I've got labels all over the place. There's your answer. Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed Fling. Um, Brian, I'm afraid I just don't know jack about Bitcoin, and I don't even know. I don't even know what how it works or what people do with it. Just a moment. Okay. My time is now a bit limited because I have to go get my mom. But this is fun. I want to give you guys more notice next time so that that more people can join up. I just wanted to test this and make sure it worked. Okay. Moogle Girl, yes, the aesthetic of the label makers, I think, is really kind of outstanding, and Gaia, the ones from the '80s. I do have a label maker, a later model, which I think was from the '70s, which has a different font, but that one's cool as well. Al, actually, you can get this. You can get the tape for these. You have to look a little bit, but I think you can get them. You can even get it on Amazon. There's a few places in San Francisco that still sell it. Yes, Brian, this is yeah, this is absolutely working. That right now the link to this is unlisted, and so that's why like it can be a little bit more intimate this way. When I just do it randomly on YouTube and anybody can join, then it's usually there's a hell of a lot more. There's obviously more people on here, but for now, I mean, like this is I want to be able to do this in both ways for the whole YouTube audience, but also for the people on Patreon because you know you want to keep it a little bit more intimate, a little bit more special. Okay, so is there anything else before we end this and then pick it up some other time? Music playlist. Um, do you how would you do that? Do you mean just like selecting whatever I've been listening to and just making a playlist for like on YouTube or something? I will, Al. I'll tell people that she said. I'll tell her that people said hi. That's an interesting idea. I'll write that down. Um, you know, something that I've always wanted to do too is that there are about 10 songs that particularly meant a lot to me when I was first trying to when I was first really starting to get very serious about trying to do something with the Tales series. There was about 10 songs I was listening to a lot in those days, and I always thought that those should that I should compile those in one way or another because you can see the lineage immediately. You know, you can absolutely tell you know that why I was into those tunes and like you know how that actually sort of related to the series. So this is kind of a neat idea, and I think I should and it Could be really fun. Uh, do you happen to know that if you're doing a YouTube playlist, if you can have that um, be a an unlisted thing? Do you know? Oh, and Brian, yeah, hasn't she hasn't been in a video in a little while, and there hasn't been. It's not for any reason other than just there hasn't been any cause for it as much lately. Um, and even though this sounds a little odd, but I mean that it's an awful lot easier to write about. It's an awful lot easier to write about people if you happen to be bickering with them a little bit at the moment. Fantastic! You can make these Moogle Girl. Thank you for checking this out. That you can make these unlisted or private or whatever. Great. This is great. All I can say is that I'll do my best to find one without advertisements. Um, but um, but yeah, I don't know if I will ever want. Another stream. Someone asked you to suggest a chill song. Oh yeah, you know that. Uh, I probably said when you were talking about Planet Caravan by Black Sabbath. Um, that if you don't know this story, it's a kind of a funny one. That when we were teenagers, me and my brother um, were hanging out, and he asked me because even though he's my older brother, he's let's just say that we didn't hang out in the same crowds really, and so he asked me what was it like to smoke pot, and I was like thinking about it. How do I describe smoking pot? And so I played him Planet Caravan by Black Sabbath, and then I played him a song called Uncle Salty by Aerosmith. And I was saying it's more or less like this. Yeah, Brian. I mean, like that. It's the thing is that I'm sure that there's more, and I think that I'm sure there's more things to talk about. You know, in talking about your parents. I mean, although that I think what I have to pay attention to is much more of like not what our relationship is like now, but like maybe what it was like a little bit before, and some of the things that maybe when you're younger, some of the things that your parents do that you don't really quite get it then. I mean, and sometimes you begin to learn what it's about later. Um, but uh, you'll probably know what I mean in that sometimes you can be hanging out with your folks later on, and there's something that just sort of that brings you back to sort of like instant recall of what things were like before, and to kind of use that to spark something off. Okay, well, cool. So this works, A, and music playlist, B. I think that's a some things were accomplished with this. So okay, I'm going to hop off, but thank you to everybody, and we'll be coming out with that next video. I'm very close to finished with it, and so I'll be able to show you something in the very near future. Like be working on it Friday, and then probably going to be working on it Monday as well. Okay, take care.